so it looks good.
Oh, okay. You can see everyone can see it.
Yep, it's
okay.
up.
Very good. I just not seeing it on my. Okay, very good.
Just for the record, my name is Brian Dundon. I am a site civil engineer with the engineering firm of R.J. O'Connell and Associates. I have with me tonight Mr. Jim Lamp. He is the project applicant representing DSM Realty. We're here before the board tonight seeking approval for the record of a major modification to an approved site plan pursuant to section 4.3.8A-1 and 4.3.8A-2 of the zoning ordinance. The project applicant is seeking approval to construct a 600 square foot expansion to their existing entry vestibule area, which is located along the storefront, as well as since we filed a site plan, we're also looking for and I'll get into this in greater detail, a 121 square foot building appendage to the north side of the Market Basket Spirits building wall for an electrical upgrade. In addition to the building expansion, we're also seeking to perform certain upgrades to the Market Basket's parking facility. These upgrades include resurfacing their parking lot area and replacing existing curbing with new vertical granite curbing, parking lot striping, new traffic control signage, new sidewalks along the Market Basket storefront, as well as rebranding the front and south side of the Market Basket building. In addition to the upgrades within the general vicinity of Market Basket, we are also seeking approval to stripe approximately 21 parking spaces to the rear of Ocean State Job Lot and Savers on existing paved surfaces. By way of a little bit of permitting history with the shopping center, the last time this site, I believe, was before the board was back in September of 2016, where the shopping center owners, Endicott Plaza Limited Partnership, submitted a minor modification permit application to install a canopy on the side of the Savers building. And for location of that on the site plan, Savers is in the lower left-hand corner of the building, adjacent to the Salem 5 bank area. I think the board is pretty familiar with the site. The site is a single parcel of land that is currently developed, which totals approximately 20.8 acres in area, and is located at the northeast quadrant of the Route 128/Endicott Street interchange. The site is bounded to the north by Route 128, to the south by Endicott Street, to the east by commercial properties that are currently being operated by BJ's Wholesale Club and Russo Marine, and to the west by the on-ramp to the northbound lane of Route 128. The site currently operates as a 236,000 square foot retail shopping center with approximately 984 parking spaces. Major tenants to the shopping center include, but are not limited to, Market Basket, Ocean State Job Lot, Savers, and CVS. The shopping center is serviced by two existing curb cuts. The easterlymost curb cut is a full access curb cut that operates unsignalized. The westerlymost curb cut is again a full access curb cut that operates under a traffic signal control, and it's the primary entry point to the shopping center. As mentioned earlier, the project applicant program consists of performing both interior and exterior renovations to its building and associated parking lot area within the shopping center. The interior renovations include expanding into existing vacant tenant space that was once formerly occupied by Pure Hockey and Chuck E. Cheese restaurant, which in aggregate totals about 25,500 square feet of new space for Market Basket. It's located on the north end of their building, and it's outlined on the drawing as the Market Basket expansion, 10,800 square foot. That was once formerly occupied by Pure Hockey, and the adjacent proposed Market Basket Spirits is about 14,700, and that was formerly occupied for a point of reference by Chuck E. Cheese restaurant. In addition to the interior renovations, there are certain improvements Market Basket is proposing to its exterior. These improvements include, again, reconstructing its sidewalk along its storefront frontage, which encompasses the former Pure Hockey and Chuck E. Cheese tenant spaces. It also the sidewalk improvements will turn the corner and wrap around on the south corner of its building. In addition to that, the entire storefront frontage will be rebranded and upgraded as well, and that rebranding will continue along its south side as well. In addition to the building improvements, the parking lot is planned to be upgraded as well, and that primarily consists of reclaiming or grinding up the existing asphalt, compacting it in place, and then resurfacing the parking lot area with new striping and signage being installed. For point of reference, the limits of the resurfacing is shown with the darker gray shade on the plan that appears before you. In addition, it should be noted that the island end caps, currently some of them have a vertical granite curb treatment to them. Some have no curbing treatment to them. The proposal is to replace all the vertical granite curbing within the dark shaded area with new vertical granite curbing with a 6-inch reveal. We are also carrying the parking lot or the repaving program to include a portion of the main access drive from Endicott Street into the primary parking field of Market Basket. And again, it's shown in that darker gray image. And again, the same holds true for the south side, where there's some parking that Market Basket has on the south side of its building that will also be upgraded as well. And again, just kind of reemphasize, there's 20 parking spaces to be restriped. Again, you'll see them in the lower left-hand corner and to the rear of Ocean State job lot as dark black line striping. The site, based on our review of the zoning map for the town of Danvers, indicates that the property is located within the commercial 3, that's a C-3 zoning district. Retail sales greater than 15,000 square feet is permitted as a matter of right within the district. The project applicant's development program is subject to filing with the planning board an application for a major modification to an approved site plan pursuant to section 4.3.8A-1, where we're increasing the total square footage of the structures on the site. And then again, pursuant to section 4.3.8A-2, where we are increasing the number of parking spaces. So should this plan be approved by this planning board, that the overall net increase, there is a net increase of 19 parking spaces being provided within the shopping center. Within the shopping center. With respect to the utilities that service the shopping center is serviced by municipal water and sewer, as well as gas, electric, and telephone services. The project applicant's redevelopment program does not require any increase in demand to these services, with the exception of the electric. As a result of Market Basket's renovation program, the existing electric service needs to be upgraded by way of a new transformer that will be installed on the north side of the building that will service the new electrical room, and then from the new electrical room, the power requirements for the renovation program will be accommodated at that time. From a stormwater and storm drainage perspective, the project applicant's development program will result in a minor decrease in the amount of impervious surface area on site by approximately 500 square feet. And as such, there will be no increase in the peak flow discharge rate or stormwater to be discharged from the site. Furthermore, the site improvements will not alter the existing stormwater flow patterns or drainage characteristics. So there'll be no change in stormwater flowage as it currently functions today. No upgrades and improvements to the on-site stormwater management systems are required to accommodate the planned renovations. The applicants, as I've mentioned, development program will result in a minor increase in the amount of landscape area on site. Market Basket has taken this time to also enhance its landscaping. The increase in landscape areas will occur within the Market Basket limit of work area, which is essentially the area encompassed by the dark shade gray. The landscape improvements include, but are not limited to, the following. There'll be additional landscape planters added within the storefront sidewalk of Market Basket, both along its storefront and on the south side of its building. And the existing landscaped iron end caps at the beginning and ends of each rows will be enhanced with additional plantings. We have included in our site plan set a detailed landscape plan that reflect these revisions. It should be noted that the shopping center currently exceeds the maximum impervious surface area requirements of 80%, as referenced in the ordinance with development projects located within the commercial 3 zoning district. The property in its existing state has approximately 91% of the site devoted to impervious surface area comprised of parking and buildings, with another 8.9% devoted to landscaping. Under this redevelopment program, these numbers will not change. They'll remain the same. As part of our major modification permit application, we submitted a list of waivers for the project. It was not my intention, unless the board would like me to, it was not going to go through and identify each waiver, but essentially the waivers, as a result of the minor amount of work that the applicant is proposing to upgrade its areas. A lot of the waivers are just waivers from the standards as to the site plan requirements for an undeveloped site. Since this is really a 600 square foot or a 700 square foot building expansion and a resurfacing and some re-landscaping of its parking facilities, we have requested waivers from the design criteria that really wasn't applicable to the improvements that were being performed. I think for the benefit of time, should the members have any questions on the list of waivers, myself and Jim are here to answer any specific questions you may have. It should be noted that since the filing of our project, we did receive some correspondence back from both the engineering department, the planning department, and the fire department. And we have encompassed those plan changes into the plan set that is reflected before you tonight. That was, again, a supplemental submission was made on May 3rd. It was last Monday, Tuesday, in advance of this meeting. And briefly, I would just go through some of those revisions with you. In our initial plan set, we reduced the fire lane width along the Market Basket storefront. Again, and in response to the fire department, they requested that we maintain that same width and that same design pattern that is out there today. So we have revised the plan to reflect the comments received from the fire department. We had a very positive Zoom meeting with David and with Josh. There was some minor requests to adjust a little bit of the parking at the tail end of the Market Basket parking field, where it's adjacent to the main access drive, and that resulted in the loss of one parking space. We did receive in a comment letter from engineering department, in which we responded back with with the response comment letter. We received in on Monday of this week the second comment letter from the engineering department, which essentially responded to our comment letter that was given to them earlier. We take no exception to their comments, just a couple of points that should be worthwhile to note. We are aware that we are subject to, in addition to the planning board's approval, we're subject to a filing of a stormwater permit application with the Stormwater Authority. We are in the process of preparing those documents and applications as we speak, and we will be filing that application, hopefully upon approval of this project. In addition to that, any stormwater related comments that Martha had, myself and Martha agreed that we could include it in our stormwater permit package, as she concurred that the site alterations are pretty minor in nature and that there's no real impact or strain or changes in stormwater characteristics being planned. The DPW department did request, as part of our review, that they understand that, due to the location of the Market Basket building and the improvements being performed, they would like to see a phasing plan on how the paving and the reclaim operations were going to work, such that there'd be no impact to traffic flow entering and exit the site as this work is ongoing. And what we agreed to do is to provide, once a contractor has been selected, we thought it was more appropriate that the contractor put together a phasing plan that we would submit in advance to the engineering department for review and approval. And the engineering department responded back that they took no exception to that. They just wanted to make sure they had a chance to review it before work got undertaken. I will note too that since our initial filing, these are reflected on the updated plans we sent to Josh last week, that we did add a couple of operational items to the plans that weren't there before. Two of them I discussed. One was showing an exterior electric room. Market Basket would also like to install an emergency generator, and that'll be located along the rear wall of their building and next to their compactors. So it's at the north. So like it's the northern corner of the property, of the building in the back, along the back area. The existing transformer, again, located along the north side where we identify this tenant space as proposed MB Spirits. There's an existing transformer in that area. We're going to be replacing that in kind. And I just made mention of the fact that the fire lane width has been increased since the initial submission. So that's a summary of the improvements that Market Basket is proposing as part of this major modification permit application. I'd just like to turn this back over to the board to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you for the overview. Jim Sears, why don't we start with you, Jim?
All right. Thank you, John. So I got to say, for a 700 square foot, major modification, that's the most comprehensive plan set I've ever seen. It's awesome. I really appreciate it. It looks great. A couple things. I know we can't really change the landscape percentage and with that site, which is unfortunate because there's a lot of impervious surface there. But I don't know if there's any way we could put some planters out front or something like that to try to, add a little bit of, we do that in some sites where you do have a lot of parking area. So is there ability to maybe put some planters out front of the new space to add a little landscaping, do you think?
We did add some along the sidewalk it's part of the rebranding of the front entry of Market Basket, which will include the Pure Hockey, the Chuck E. Cheese. We have added landscape planters along that storefront. There is a landscape planter being proposed.
Okay, that's great. One of the problems with that site, which is a little difficult, is when you navigate through those traffic lights, you essentially get thrust into the high volume pedestrian traffic if you enter and kind of hug the building. Is there a way that we can really try to encourage people to go to the lower end of the parking lot and come up that way to kind of reduce the conflicts between cars and pedestrians? Short of, I understand the fire lane and the need for the fire lane, but it'd be great if we could kind of steer people to take the lower route and come up from the main, entrance into the site. Because I think the natural tendency is people come through that light and they kind of hug the building, and you've got a ton of activity because that building, that that store does a tremendous volume of activity.
Yeah, I think that what we can do is work with the mall ownership, and maybe what we do is have signage to say Market Basket, a signage, some wayfinding signage that has Market Basket kind of utilizing the straight through up to its storefront, and then the rest of the mall stores would kind of go along, like you said, around the perimeter and
Right.
utilize the main access road. So I think that's some wayfinding signage right in that landscaped island as you come into the site where the bullnose is before it turns from striping. Yeah, in that area. We could think about adding some wayfinding signage in there to kind of direct the customers to utilize the straight through approach for Market Basket, then have everybody else kind of continue on the main driveway where they could service CVS, Ocean State and Savers and the whatnot. Yes, we can work with the ownership group on that.
So going down below, not hugging Market Basket, but
That is correct.
yeah, I think that'd be great if you could do that, because every time I go over there, if you're going on there on Saturday or, there's a tremendous amount of activity right as you first pull in there. So that'd be great. And you really have to start it right up where you're circling there, right at the beginning.
Yes,
You know?
right at the beginning. Yes.
So
Yeah,
okay.
if I could add in, Jim Lamp with LTD Development representing Market Basket. What we could do is there's two signs that bracket the lane you're discussing that are do not enter signs, and we could probably put some wayfinding on the back side of those on that straight through. The other thing that we've done to try to clean up the area on what would be the southern corner of the store is that single loaded bay that has now angled parking. That was a two-way drive. And we thought that was confusing and also probably not appropriate to have cars try to make that turn, that right turn in when you come in the drive, because it's so tight, it's so acute. So we've reversed that direction away from the store. And also as you're leaving the site, you get thrown into the one-way drive, which you're also referring to, that goes towards the store. We've modified that island to make sure that no one makes that mistake and enters towards the signal traveling the wrong way. So we've clarified the striping there, we've clarified the arrows, and made sure that people take that left turn back into the parking area.
Great. That's some good improvements. I appreciate that. That's all I have at this time, John. Thank you.
Okay, Lou, you're next.
Okay, sure. Thanks. Just a couple of questions, and again, I do appreciate the detail of the materials. And just a question in terms of, again, looking at pedestrian access as well as sort of parking movement within the area. Where the proposed MB Spirits is there going to be, just so I can understand this, will there be an entrance, a separate entrance, or it will be through the store? There'll be a store entrance.
There'll be a separate entrance for the MB Spirits. In other words, the only way you can access MB Spirits is from the outside into their building. There will be no access from Market Basket in the Market Basket expansion area into MB Spirits, so that you can treat them as two independent tenants.
And with respect to the just in terms of with respect to parking in the area, will the hours for MB Spirits be similar to the store itself?
Yes, yes, it'll be the same.
Yes, be the same. And do you anticipate, I guess, in terms of parking always being at a premium, do you anticipate additional parking usage because of the addition of the Spirit store, or these are mostly going to be people who would necessarily be going to the store in any event?
That, and also the liquor store across the way will be closing. That we actually lease that space, so that Endicott Liquors will be closing, and MB Spirits will take it up. So there might be a slight uptick. We talked to the owners about possible minor changes to the parking, and this is as much as we could get them to change the entire site, because he has to look at the site as a whole.
Okay. And I did notice as well, I think it was mentioned that one of the additional pieces was a diesel fuel generator. Could you just show me where that's towards, is that in the rear of the store?
Northeast corner,
Right
right there where the hand is.
Oh, yes. Okay. Is there going to be is there a separate tank for that, or
It's a belly tank, so it looks like a part of the generator. It's a double wall tank that sits underneath the generator.
Okay, got it. Okay, sounds good. Let's see. And I think I think that's about all in terms of the questions I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Tori, you're next.
That was a great presentation. Thank you. And I think this looks like a really good plan. I have the same concerns that Jim expressed about the traffic flow. I've seen many times that Endicott Street, making that left turn, gets backed up beyond the turn lane, which then impedes traffic on Endicott Street. And I think that has to do with how quickly cars entering the parking lot are able to get out of that one lane entrance and find themselves parking. You got into a little bit of what the options are in response to Jim's concern. Is there any way to simply get cars out of that single lane bottleneck more easily, maybe encouraging them to make that right turn? Because that lot on the side of the building between Town Fair and Market Basket seems to me underutilized, and I don't think a lot of people make that right turn coming in. What options would there be to get people out of that turn lane faster?
That's based on this geometry, I'm not sure. I'm not sure there is a lot of options available to us. I think what really needs to happen is encourage it with the wayfinding signage. So in addition to having, Market Basket parking straight ahead, is really accentuate the fact that, take the right turn and have them utilize that side parking facility that has 76 spaces with it. But I think too, and maybe Jim can speak to this a little bit, I think on that side, that's where probably predominantly where the Market Basket employees are probably parking today. So that'll still be utilized. But I think, try to alleviate the strain of the potential bottleneck is how we kind of addressed it, or try to address it on the original comment, is really just try to isolate and just get the Market Basket parking to utilize and come across its storefront, and have all the other traffic utilize the main access drive and get them to kind of peer off into the various tenant spaces on that main access drive. And I think it really needs to occur with wayfinding signage, and just letting people know a little bit earlier in the program, as opposed to not having anything to go. Because I'm really concerned if we start altering the geometry at the entry, that ripple effect may cause a detriment to Endicott Street.
Yeah, I just I got my phone so I could look at Google Earth of the site, and looking at the configuration. To be honest, there just doesn't appear to be much room. There's 2 through lanes in both directions along Endicott Street, opposing left turns. You could look at in a long term, maybe double lefts, but there just does not appear to be that kind of alignment that could solve that problem. And the queuing on Endicott Street, the left turn that you're referring to, backs up to the ramps for the highway, so that you really can't extend that much any further to get more queuing in that as well. And there is a limit to what to be honest, there is a limit to what we can afford to do for what is relatively a small square footage expansion for a foyer and an electric room. I don't see anything out there that wouldn't be just a drastic change to Endicott Street.
Well, I think I'm okay with that answer. The signage would help, and honestly, I can't think of exactly what would solve the problem either. So I think I'm okay with this. The last question: how much diesel fuel will be stored?
Josh, do you remember what I did on that email?
Yeah, it's about 600. It's about 650 gallons of fuel.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the
Okay.
valley.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, my question is, just for the benefit of the public, I know Market Basket's been up there since really the 70s in this location. It's been a very successful store. And I think you explained the ownership. I was under the impression that the Market Basket team controlled the whole site, but it sounds like that's not the case when you say the mall owners. It's not one entity that controls Market Basket and the real estate up there?
Correct. The center is owned by the Petzold family.
Okay.
So we just have a long-term lease.
Okay. That's helpful. I think you got a very successful store. I share the same comments that if people would just come in and come to the left and park, come down to the bottom and park to your store, because I think the vast majority of the traffic coming into the center is going to Market Basket. Everyone seems to want to go right by your front door, and it does create issues, getting in and out of the store. So if any way we can improve upon that, if the signage is the answer, I think that's great. People are creatures of habit, I get it, but it's so much easier to come into that parking lot if you just come down and come up and find your location instead of trying to go through the front entrance and look for the closest spaces up front. But I recognize you can't change behavior too much. Yep. Oh, okay. The only other question I have is with the expansion, is this store going to look similar to your Revere store as your modern footprint with the expansion, or is it going to be a little bit smaller?
Josh, is there any way to put the elevations on the screen? Josh?
Yes, hold on one second. Yeah, we can keep talking while I do that.
I would say even now the Revere store is probably dated. This I think is a lot more like the store we did down in Fall River, Mass.
Okay.
We just opened a new store in Lowell last year, and it will represent that a little bit, except for the two-tone masonry. But it's a modern look, all very durable materials, a good mix of materials, and brick and different textures of brick, with a lot of glass.
Okay, great. And how long do you think the project's going to take to complete?
We're hoping that we can get the liquor store open this year. So we're going to work on the facade from looking at the face from left to right. Because we're going to keep the store open, we've done a few of these rehabs. It could be 10 to 12 months of work of the interior of the store. And the site work will really depend on when we can get the exterior of the store complete and then finish the sidewalk so that we can do all the new pavement without having it torn up by construction equipment. So it all said and done, summer of next year, late summer of next year, everything will be complete.
That's helpful. That's my questions. Josh, was there any members of the public that wanted to speak on this application?
There was one member of the public who reached out who wanted to join the meeting. The gentleman didn't indicate which project he wanted to discuss. So and I don't see him on the list joining the meeting yet. So
This is Matt Duggan, Josh.
So yeah. So I would, through the chair, Matt, if this is what you wanted to discuss, I wasn't sure what item you wanted to talk about.
Sure. All right, thank you. Mr. Chairman, this is Matthew Duggan, 41 Chase Street. Just an expansion on the comments and questions already presented about the backup generator. Is there a generator on site today that provides that functionality, or is this something new?
This is new. This site, we've had problems in the past with losing power. So we do emergency generators at all of our stores now when we rehab them or new stores. So this is a brand new generator that would allow the store to function completely on its own with a loss of power. Okay.
And whenever we discuss this site and adjacent one, the BJ's, we always have to keep in mind the residents that live on Needham Road, which is from the generator maybe about 200 yards, which sounds like far away, but between these two large buildings, the Market Basket and the BJ's, that's a channel that would funnel that noise down towards those residents. So can you just explain briefly when the generator will be running, not only when it's needed for backup power, but also for testing?
Yeah, typically we exercise them Wednesday mornings, I believe, at 10 o'clock, probably like a half-hour run time or 20 minutes. And then the only other time would be in the case of an emergency.
Okay, and do you have an approximate decibel level on or the potential impact it would have on residents? I mean, 10 in the morning is reasonable rather than 10 at night. So do you have a sense of what the noise level would be? I believe it was listed at 89 decibels with the, it's actually inside, we put a cabinet over it. And I think the decibel levels was rated at 89. Okay, so that's probably about the level of traffic that's going down Endicott Street. Yeah, with the, with us bracketed by Endicott Street and 128, yeah, I would say that most people wouldn't even know that it was operating. All right, so that's, that was kind of the end goal for my question. I see that there's a, I don't know if it's a fence or something around the perimeter of the device. So would that would also kind of be sound absorbing? I don't think I could call it sound absorbing. It's a chain link fence with slats in it, and then there's bollards protecting that. So those dots you see are bollards, and then there will be a fence around the exterior, allowing access to the equipment. All right, that's great. So it sounds like you've given it quite a bit of thought. I'm all set, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other comments from the public, Josh, to your knowledge?
No, John, no.
Okay, so I'll bring it back to the board for a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Okay, was that from you, Jim? I'm sorry. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, from Tori. So let's do a quick roll call on that. Jim?
Aye.
Lou?
Aye.
Tori?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm in favor of closing the public hearing. So why don't we turn to the application? Is there a motion to accept the application? And then we'll read the decision. Jim, if you don't mind reading the decision, if we get a positive motion here. So is there a motion to move forward as presented by the applicant?
I'll move that we move forward as presented by the applicant.
Okay, is there a second?
I second that.
Okay, Jim, do you mind reading the decision?
Sure. At a hearing held on May 11, 2021, the Danvers Planning Board voted to approve a major modification to an approved site plan submitted by DSM Realty for property at 139 Endicott Street. Assessors map 63 lot 2 shown on the following plan. Site plan entitled Site Plan for Market Basket Parking Area Improvements, Endicott Plaza, Danvers, Mass. Prepared by R.J. O'Connell and Associates, Inc., dated March 29, 2021, revised to April 30th, 2021, consisting of 12 sheets. This approval is subject to the following conditions. 1, This approval is granted with the following waivers from Section 4 site plan approval of the Danvers zoning bylaw. 1, Section 4.8.7 utility plan. Required a utility plan, requested no submission of a utility plan since the additional utility upgrades at the rear back corner of the building are shown on the layout plan. 2, Section 4.8.11 lighting photometric plan. Required a lighting photometric plan. Requested no submission of a lighting photometric plan since the proposed project does not require any alterations to be performed to the existing parking lot lighting. No upgrades or improvements to the existing parking lot lighting are required to accommodate the planned renovations. General conditions approved by the Planning Board on January 27th, 2004, amended February 27th, 2018, as shown, standard and usual conditions. This approval is also subject to the attached list of general conditions approved by the Planning Board on January 27th, 2004, amended through February 27, 2018, which are incorporated in the certificate of action by reference. Any approval of this site plan shall last within 2 years from the granting thereof, if construction has not begun by such date, except for good cause. I just think we should also add, John, just a minor amendment, just saying that the applicant will work with staff on directional signage into the location to encourage access from the southerly access points.
Okay. So we have a first and a second. The decision was read in with that amendment. Let me just go back to the board. Any questions around was read into the record and Jim's clarification? Tori, do you have any questions on that?
No, I support Jim's clarification.
Okay. Lou?
Yes, I support it as well.
The same with me. All right. So why don't we do a roll call vote? Tori, for final approval?
Yes.
Lou?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
And I'm in favor as well. So good luck to the applicant. And I know you guys have been strong supporters of the community, so we appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
You too. The next item is 11 Newbury Street, request for approval for the major modification to an approved site plan pursuant to Section 4 of the zoning bylaws submitted by Costco Wholesaling Corporation for property in the Highway Corridor Zone District. The applicant proposed the installation of 3 new fueling pumps at the existing gas station and associated site modifications. Assessors map 55, lot 4. And I'll turn it over to the applicant. And Josh, if you can introduce the applicant, I appreciate it.
Yes, I believe that Mr. Steve Glowacki will be providing a short summary, not to put him on the spot, but will be leading the development team on this item.
Okay,
That's
great.
correct. Good evening. For the record, Steve Glowacki with R.G. O'Connell and Associates, also with R.G. O'Connell and Associates. Joining me tonight is John Paul Andrews, Director of Real Estate Development with Costco. And in addition, we have John Alvarado from MG2, who is the project architect, and they'll be available for questions subsequent to our presentation. As noted, we come before you today seeking a major modification to an approved site plan, which was originally permitted and approved back in 2010. We have gone before the ZBA in March of 2021 for an expansion to the gas use, and have received approval for that. Pursuant to Section 4.2.1, an increase in building area, we are required to apply for a major modification to the site plan, as I noted. Essentially, the proposed project includes the addition of 3 new pumps and 6 new fueling stations to expand the gas service at the existing Costco gas station. The Costco gas station, as you know, is located at 11 Newbury Street. There is an existing gas station with 6 fueling pumps and 12 fueling stations. And as noted, we would like to expand that to 9 fueling pumps with 18 fueling stations. The canopy itself will be reconfigured as well to encompass a new fire suppression system. The system's designed to sufficiently cover the area associated with 15-foot hose lengths. And currently, the facility is not equipped with the 15-foot hose lengths. The 15-foot hose lengths are meant to accommodate both sides of the vehicle, thus expediting trips through the fueling station. The slab itself will be removed so we can accommodate some utility work and primarily drainage work, but more importantly, the positive limiting barriers, which are the grooves in the concrete, will be adjusted to accommodate the fire suppression system, as I mentioned earlier. The fuel tanks that are currently underground will remain in place, though there are provisions to move the fill caps remotely, slightly to the north. Also, we're going to make a reconfiguration of the island on the exit area, which we hope to modify to keep vehicles from trying to enter the exit. And I know we've had a bit. Thank you very much, Josh. We've had a bit of issues through the years, and we've coned that off. We thought we'd take the opportunity now to reconfigure that. The site access, though, to the fuel facility will essentially remain the same and remain unchanged. In what cars will queue from the northeast, and then move into the queuing area, and then move southward through the facility. And the exit area will remain the same, as I mentioned, though narrowed down to 16 feet to prevent vehicles from coming in. The reason for the expansion of the additional 3 pumps is Costco has, through their development through the years, has realized that rather than having 6 cars sitting in the queue, it's better to have them fueling. So this will expedite movements through the fuel facility and reduce queuing lengths, and that's the expectation. And we've seen that successfully enacted throughout the country with Costco's expanded fuel program. The overall site parking for Costco will remain the same. There'll be no changes to that at all. And as I mentioned, the slight reconfiguration with the fill caps and the slight expansion of the islands in the exit lane will result in no net impervious increase in impervious area. That said, we did prepare a very comprehensive stormwater report as well as improvements to the stormwater. It's important to note the characteristics of the stormwater and discharges have not changed at all. However, we have enhanced treatment quite a bit through the system, and I'll describe it very briefly. The stormwater has been designed to be channeled along the edges of the slab down to catch basins with oil float valves, equipped with oil float valves to prevent any issues that may arise. Though Costco and John Paul Andrews can elaborate on this, has not had any issues with fuel spills or anything of the like. Stormwater will then be directed through those CBs into oil grit separators, and then eventually directed into the existing stormwater system where it goes through a treatment unit. So you can see there's quite a bit of improvement to the treatment. Although, as I will state again, there are no changes to the drainage characteristics in terms of what flows out of the site. The signage on the canopy will be replaced. However, the signage is going to be the exact same dimension, affixed to the portions of the canopy that it already is affixed to. So we anticipate no changes in the signage itself. In addition, site lighting throughout the site and around the facility will remain the same. However, the canopy is equipped with lighting, and we've provided a photometrics plan which details what the light levels are associated with that canopy. Through the course of our submission, we received several comments forwarded by Mr. Morris. The first set was from the Department of Fire Services, dated October 16th, 2020, and outlined relative information for the facility, which is handled more through the building permit process, which we intend to comply with, of course. In addition, we received Department of Public Works comments from the engineering division prepared by Mr. King, the town engineer, dated April 27, 2021. And we responded in the affirmative to those comments, stating that we would meet all those requirements, and we've modified a set of plans to include several changes associated with that. Primarily, we identified the snow storage areas, and we changed the type of erosion control measures as requested by Mr. King. We received a follow-up letter in response to our memo dated May 7th, 2021, which essentially issued the fact that there were no additional comments required. Given the size of the project, although small, there is some impacts. We're required to submit for a stormwater permit, and we're in the process of coordinating that right now. And we'll, of course, do what is necessary to take care of that. We also had a Zoom meeting with the planning department and reviewed access, and there were some recommendations, and we discussed them in depth. And in the site plan remained unchanged based on our conversation. We've also prepared a list of waivers, which I've attached, and essentially they're not waivers necessarily from design criteria, but rather a reformatting of the sheets, the way we present them. And I'd be happy to go through those if you'd like, or we could defer to discuss those later on. In summary, the addition of these 3 pumps with the 6 stations will improve the speed of fueling operations, reducing queue times, as I noted, assist with the longer hose lengths, as I also noted, to serve both sides of the vehicles rather, while the access will remain the same. So there's nothing to learn for patrons to relearn in regards to that. So with that, I'll turn it over if you have any questions for myself, Mr. John Paul Andrews, or Mr. John Alvarado.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that overview. Lou, why don't we start with you on this application?
Sure, okay. Okay, just a couple of just a preliminary question. I know you mentioned that you received a zoning board of appeals approval for a variance in March. Could you just explain again what you needed to what sort of variance you needed on that?
Sure. The initial ZBA approval back in 2010 granted us approval for a fuel use, a gasoline use on the site. At the time, of course, as I mentioned, with 6 fueling stations, I'm sorry, 6 fuel pumps with 12 fueling stations. So we went back to ZBA to ask for an expansion to that. At the time in 2010, there was also a request for relief from signage. In working with the ZBA, it was determined that we didn't have to reapply because we weren't changing the size of the signage. So literally, it was only for the gas use.
Okay, got it. Okay, and obviously they approved it, correct?
They did, yes.
Okay,
they did.
Got it. And with respect to the, I know there seemed to be some back and forth with the fire department as well with respect to the, with respect to the hose lengths and such. Could you explain a little bit about what happened there? And is by having the longer hose lengths that address their concerns?
It does. So my understanding of the initial hose length problem was that the canopy wasn't sized sufficiently with the fire suppression system to accommodate the longer hoses that Costco desires. So Costco was forced to use the shorter hose length, which does have some impact on the fueling operations. As I mentioned, you can only fuel one side of the car that your fill cap is on. With the new design, Costco certainly wanted to address that and accommodate the longer hoses. And what is critical in that is to size the canopy for that fire suppression system, along with the positive limiting barriers in the concrete.
Okay. And so the canopy now will be properly sized for that, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. And with respect to, I know you submitted a stormwater management report, and so you'd be using the existing stormwater management system. Is that correct?
To some degree, as shown on C2, and I'm not sure if Josh wants to pull that up. We are redirecting some of the stormwater into new catch basins, so we're enhancing a good portion of the system that goes around the fuel facility, and that again not to increase the volume or capacity of that, but the treatment component. So we have catch basins again that have these oil float valves. And then that's directed to a large oil grit separator, which is that large rectangular item shown there. And it's directed back around to where it does tie into the existing system, thus going through an existing treatment unit out in the middle of the queuing area.
And that will not overburden the existing system.
No, as I mentioned, there's no changes to the characteristics because we haven't changed the impervious area at all.
Okay. Sounds good. And I think that's all the questions I have for you, but I did have a question for staff. Are we still, Josh, are we still waiting on comments from, from electric as well as maybe the water and sewer division?
I circulate all the projects to everyone. Obviously with, things that happen, just in terms of town, I don't necessarily always receive comments for every single project. Obviously that would be an ideal situation. We just didn't receive them yet.
Okay.
But I think that I would feel comfortable moving forward, if not having them wouldn't allow this to kind of keep moving in terms of conversation, if that makes sense.
Okay. So the fact that the only concern I have is I know you indicated that they've not yet been received. So are we anticipating receiving anything? Because
probably not. Usually what happens with the water sewer folks is if there is an issue, I generally will hear about it, and I guess the default is if I don't hear from him, then he's satisfied. But the person who works in water sewer also works in the engineering division. So someone in that group has, looked through this. I mean, engineering kind of went through this twice. So
okay.
I feel comfortable with that, that division in this project.
Okay. Yeah, that's the only reservation I have, just to make sure that we received all the comments.
Sure.
Aside from that, I don't have any concerns aside from those. Thanks.
So before I go to Tori, so Josh, I think it'd be helpful to the board if we can get all the departments just to say, hey, we have no comments, right? Because it's important for the board members when we read it. We do look for all the department comments. If they're not going to comment, it'd be just as easy for them to say no comment for this application.
Yes.
If we can just somehow organize that, that'd be helpful to us.
Yep, absolutely.
Tori, why don't I turn it to you?
Just one clarification. You're not proposing any new additional gasoline storage on the site?
That's correct. We're using the existing tanks as they are.
I think this looks like it'll just improve the site and the flow of traffic. I don't have any concerns with this.
Good. Great. Jim Sears?
I'm the same way. I don't have any questions. It looks like an improvement to a very busy site.
So my question, and really for the benefit of the public that's watching, I mean, you got a very active site there. I'm a customer. I go in, I've pumped gasoline there. So the third locations, are people going to jump the queuing? I mean, one of the challenges when they're back to back to back like that, they never flow exactly perfectly. So is there enough room for people to maneuver away from the pumps if they're in the middle, for example?
Yeah, that's correct. So the way these are structured, and it's hard to tell perhaps at the scale, but the additional pumps that we're adding, there's an extra space in there, and they're spaced sufficiently so that a vehicle can pass around the vehicle in front of it. And there's actually pass-through lanes between it. So even if someone's fueling in the front two stations and someone comes up behind them and finishes before them, they easily have sufficient space to pull out around them into the bypass lane.
Okay.
And it's designed for those maneuvers.
So this is the modern Costco approach to fueling.
That's exactly right.
Okay. I don't have any other questions. Josh, was anyone from the public have an interest in making have questions or comments for the applicant?
Similar to the last project, I just had that one resident who I wasn't sure if he had a question or a comment on this item. If Mr. Duggan's still here, he was the only person who had reached out. But if he doesn't, then that was the only person, John.
Okay. Matt, if you're still on, have a question, you have the floor.
Yeah, I'm all set. Thank you for asking.
Okay. All right. So why don't we move it back to the board? Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. So let's do a quick roll call vote. Jim?
In favor, yes.
Lou?
Yes.
Tori?
Yes.
And I'm in favor of closing the public hearing. So let's move to discussing the application as presented. Is there a motion to approve the application as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, so before we vote, Lou, do you mind reading in the decision if you got access to it?
Sure, just give me a moment. Okay.
Go right ahead.
All right. At a hearing held on May 11, 2021, the Danvers Planning Board voted to approve a major modification to an approved site plan submitted by Costco Wholesale Corporation for property at 11 Newbury Street, Assessors Map 55, Lot 4, shown in the following plan. Site plan entitled, quote, Gasoline Expansion, 11 Newbury Street, Danvers, Mass, quote, R.J. O'Connell and Associates, Inc., dated October 23rd, 2020, revised to May 4th, 2021, consisting of 11 sheets. The approval is subject to the following conditions. 1. This approval is granted with the following waivers from Section 4, Site Plan Approval of the Danvers Zoning Bylaw. 1. Section 4.8.5, Proposed Layout Plan. Required, a proposed layout plan. Requested, no submission of a proposed layout plan. Sheet C3, Parking and Traffic Control Plan, has been submitted that depicts the information required for the proposed layout plan. 2. Section 4.8.6, Landscape Plan. Required, a landscape plan to be prepared by a landscape architect for projects that exceed 20,000 square foot. Requested, no submission of a landscape plan. Existing landscaping is not proposed to be altered as part of this project, and new landscaping will be installed and maintained by the current landscaping crew. 3. Section 4.8.7 and Section 4.8.8, Utility Plan in Grading and Drainage, Stormwater Plan, end. Required, a utility plan in grading and drainage, stormwater plan. Requested, utilities and grading and drainage, stormwater plan, are combined on the same sheet for ease of construction as the project area is small and will allow all potential utility conflicts in grading on one sheet. Subject to the general conditions approved by Planning Board on January 27, 2004, amended through February 27, 2018. This approval is also subject to the attached list of general conditions approved by the Planning Board on January 27, 2004, amended through February 27, 2018, which are incorporated in the Certificate of Action by reference. Any approval of this site plan shall lapse within 2 years from the grant thereof if construction has not begun by such date, except for good cause. Signed, John Farmer, Chair.
Okay, thanks, Lou. So there was a first and a second. The decision's been read in, so let's do a roll call vote. Tori?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Lou?
Yes.
And I'm in favor as well. So good luck to the applicant. And just a quick question to the applicant. When do you expect this to be completed?
John Paul, could I perhaps impose on you to answer?
Once we have all approvals, which looks like we have, and permits in hand, we do plan to start as construction as soon as possible. It should be about a 60-day construction schedule for this, so this summer.
Okay, great, thank you. Good luck. We appreciate your support.
Thank you very much for all the help. Take care. Have a good night.
You too. Okay. The next item, 74 Holton Street, request for site plan approval submitted by Danny Sakira for property at 74 Holton Street pursuant to Section 4 of the zoning bylaw. Said property is in the Industrial 1 in Tapley Overlay zoning district. The applicant proposes to modify the landscaping and parking assessors map 50 lot 155. And I believe the applicant is here personally. Correct, Josh?
Yes. So, Dan Sakira or Mr. Steve Tedesco, I wasn't sure who was going to take the lead on this. Was that you, Danny? Can you hear me?
I think Steve was going to take the lead on this.
Okay. All right. Very good.
Okay.
I saw Mr. Steve Tedesco. I saw his name. Is he here?
He's
on
here.
mute.
I can see. Yeah, he's.
Sorry.
So, Steve, you're on mute if you want to unmute, and you've got the floor.
All right. Hi, guys. So just to give you an overview, we're retaining the existing building at 74 Holton Street. We're renovating the building to a 2-unit apartment building. So there'll be a new construction addition on the rear that meets, all the current zoning bylaws. And we're just renovating the front portion of the existing building. We are adding a level. It's a 2-level structure right now. So we'll be adding a full 2nd level and a 3rd level with a dormer on one side, just to give some added space on the 3rd floor. We're expecting 4 bedrooms as a maximum. There might be 4 bedrooms plus an office. We're still working out the interior layouts. In terms of the outside, we tried to match, the neighborhood in the current kind of style of the existing structure with the bay window and just the color and kind of materiality of the structure, and just kind of gave it a more modern feel. And that's pretty much it. It's pretty straightforward. 6 parking spaces to meet the current zoning laws. Pretty straightforward.
Okay. All right, Tori, why don't we start with you?
Question for staff. Have we heard anything from abutters?
No, we have not.
This seems pretty appropriate to this space. I don't have any questions.
Okay. Jim?
So these buildings are attached with a common wall. How many units are we going to have at the end of the day?
Just two units total. And there will be a common wall separating them.
But they're attached?
Yes, they will.
Because otherwise, I think you'd have to have like 20 feet between the buildings or get a waiver or something. But
yep.
All right, and there's 2 egresses for both. I see the front one egress, egress in the back for the rear building.
Yeah, so there's 4 doors total. So each unit will have 2 egresses on the main level. It's almost a mirror image of each other.
Sure. And what, you have 1 visitor spot?
So we have 3 spaces per unit right now, and I think that satisfies kind of what we need. Depending on the bedroom count, I guess it could be 2 visitor spots.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. Just to clarify, but on the plans, Jim, there are 2 visitor spaces in total as we speak. From a zoning perspective in Tapleyville, there's 2 spaces required for each unit. So there would be 4 spaces for the residents themselves, and then there is proposed to be 2 in total visitor spaces. So a total of 6 parking spaces for informational purposes.
Okay. Otherwise, I'm fine with it. It looks like as mentioned, looks like a nice improvement to the site. I like the landscaping. I like the look of it. I think it's going to be a nice addition to Holton Street.
Thank you.
Lou, you're next.
Yeah, okay. Okay, just a question. So this is an expansion of the existing building. The existing building is not going to be, there's no demolition of the existing building, correct?
No. You know, we will have to modify the roof and then the rear wall to create the expansion. But the existing foundation is going to be left intact, and then the 3 exterior walls for the most part.
Okay, got it. Do you know the approximate age of the building?
That I don't.
Okay.
Offhand.
Okay. Okay. But staff, correct me if I'm, Josh, this wouldn't involve any sort of, if it were an older building, this would not involve any sort of demolition, correct? Josh?
I guess I'm not sure your question, Lou. I'm sorry. I'm not sure what you're asking.
I'm just wondering in terms of the age of the building. This wouldn't fall under the if there were demolition of this, then we potentially have a demolition delay issue, correct?
Oh yeah. Sorry, this is David here. I think to your point, Mr. Tedesco doesn't know the age, but when a building permit is submitted, the commissioner will review, and the way our process works, if it is eligible, it'll get kicked to the Preservation Commission.
Understood.
Yep.
Got it. Okay, very good. So just a question I have, and again, I agree that this looks like a, this appears like a good-looking building, and in terms of, it seems like it would blend in with the area well. Just a concern about the, in terms of parking. So I know that it was staff just clarified that the requirement is 2 spaces per unit, and so it looks like you have 6. There does seem to be an awful lot of blacktop in the back there. Is there, are you wedded to having 6 spaces, or could you potentially have one of the spaces, be more of a, not blacktop, be more of a pervious surface?
I don't think we're opposed to that. I mean, we could pull the whole parking back from the fence a little and create more greenery along the fence. We could make some adjustments to make it look better. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, just because of the way it looks right there, I mean, it just, given that they're, understanding that they do seem like they are going to be large units, I have a bit of a concern in terms of just the amount of blacktop there. So if there is a way that you could either, would you be willing to eliminate 1 space?
I don't see why not. We could look at that. I mean, I was thinking, the more spaces, I think the better for this size of a unit mix.
Sure.
I was almost afraid to take away 1, but
I understand. Yeah.
I mean, we could pull the whole parking row away from the fence and kind of add.
I mean, perhaps that'd be a good compromise if there's a way you could maybe bring the parking row a little away from the fence, so that there could be a little more, perhaps put some additional landscaping in that area.
Oh yeah, definitely.
If I could chime in on this, I'd like to. It's Rich Williams. I'm the site designer. The reason that we've got so much space there, and the reason that the parking spaces are close to the fence, is because folks backing up, especially towards the back, are going to need a place to back up to, so that they can make the corner, make that 3-point turn. And if we start pulling those parking spaces away from the fence, we're going to cause an issue there. This site was paved in the prior condition when that building was in operation. But on these plans, we've done a large subsurface infiltration system. So the additional pavement has been accounted for, and we've got a substantial reduction in runoff because of that. So I do think that there has been a good accommodation for the pavement that's there. I think if you're going to get rid of a parking space, it would need to be kept open so that they could park on it, whether it be like a grass paver or something like that. For my money, I think that they're going to use those spaces. So I think they should have 6, just because I think they're going to use it.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. I think that satisfies my concerns. I don't have any further questions.
Okay. I don't have any questions either. I think this design looks great for this particular area of town. So, Josh, I know Mr. Duggan's on the line. Mr. Duggan, you have any comments since we don't have any other public participation at this point?
Yes, I do, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, go right ahead.
Okay, again, it's Matthew Duggan, 41 Chase Street. I just took a quick look at the assessor's card. So the build date was in 1854. So if there was some type of demolition that was scheduled, it would need to go probably to Preservation Commission. It's unfortunate that there's so much impervious surface at the rear of this structure. Is this, are these units condos or apartments?
I believe they're going to be condos.
Okay. So again, I think it was Mr. George who mentioned no green space in the back is kind of a detriment, I think, to this site, but I'll leave that up to the planners to decide. A question about the snow storage. Will that be at the extreme rear lot line? Is that where the snow will be stored?
Yeah, we've got it at the perimeter of the lot.
The perimeter. So you're at the rear, though, right? Against the
rear and the side, in the back.
Okay. And there's I see a photo from Google Earth that looks like there's trees there. Are they on this site or are they on the adjacent site where the Marino Brothers is located? That's fine. If you're not sure, that's fine.
Yeah, no, I believe that is, John, if it's okay to respond to the chair.
Yeah, go right ahead. Yeah.
I believe that, Mr. Duggan, yes, that it is the Menino's building that's very close to that rear kind of property line, if that's your question.
Yeah, I was just wondering about, so currently we see some arborvitae type plantings along the fence, separating it from the Daniela's next door. So I assume those will stay.
Mr. Duggan, if you're looking at the screen, it appears that there are some arborvitaes being proposed.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay. Yep. I wasn't sure what
There's
those
1, 2, 3, 4, 6 of them are on that rear line. Yep.
All right. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome. Since there's no other public comments, let me bring it back to the board for a motion to close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
I'll move that we close the public hearing.
Okay, is there a second?
I second.
Okay, roll call vote. Jim?
All in favor? In favor.
Lou?
Sorry.
Lou?
Yes. Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Okay, I'm in favor as well. Okay, and then as part of the application, is there a motion to approve the application as presented?
I'm sorry to interrupt, John. I just had one kind of quick comment from staff just on this, just before the voting takes place. We did get late comments from the engineering division on this, and just one kind of condition that we would like to potentially include in approval would be for planning and engineering staff to work with the applicant to verify whether potentially a perimeter, some type of perimeter drain on the edge of the property might be appropriate. We wouldn't want to hold the project up or anything, but if we could just work with the applicant to see if the applicant could just provide some drainage calculations to see if that would be necessary or not, just because of that item that Mr. Duggan brought up, just about the snow storage in the rear there and the abutting properties. So if staff would just like to request to include a condition of that nature.
Okay, so Tori, if you can be prepared to read the decision when we get to that point, I'd appreciate it, and just add that component. All right, so is there a motion to approve the application as presented with the modification that we'll discuss in the decision? Is there a motion to accept the application as presented?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so Tori, do you mind reading the decision in, and then we'll take a formal vote?
Sure. Should I read all of these dates of hearing with no public testimony, or just today's?
You can do today's.
Yeah, that's.
All right. Site plan approval, 74 Holden Street. Date of application, December 3rd, 2020. Date of hearing, May 11th, 2021. Date of decision, May 11th, 2021. Date of filing, May 13th, 2021. At a hearing held on May 11th, 2021, the Danvers Planning Board voted to approve the site plan submitted by Denny Cerquera for property at 74 Holton Street, Assessors Map 50, Lot 188, shown on the following plan entitled 74 Holton Street, Danvers, Mass., prepared by Williams and Discharges, dated November 2nd, 2020, revised to April 29th, 2021, consisting of 9 sheets. Architectural drawings into a 2-unit apartment renovation, 74 Holton Street, Danvers, Mass. 01923, prepared by Tedesco Architecture, dated May 3rd, 2021, consisting of 7 sheets. This approval is subject to the following conditions. General conditions approved by Planning Board on January 27th, 2004, amended through February 27th, 2018. Prior to issuance of building permits, no building permit shall be issued until compliance with any special conditions placed on the approval by the Planning Board. If the project is subject to a water use mitigation program fee, the project will be subject to an impact fee as stated in Section 3 of the town's water use mitigation plan, which states all commercial projects and all residential projects of 3 or more dwelling units shall, prior to issuance of a building permit, pay a fee to be determined in accordance with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53E, 1/2, and calculated based upon the proposition that each project subject thereto shall pay a fee reasonably commensurate with the cost of conserving water or mitigating water loss consistent with projected water demand of the proposed project. The fee will be based on the increase in water demand for the proposed use above the demand for the existing use. 0. The applicant or his representative may wish to contact Sharon Clement from Public Works Department at Town Hall, telephone 978-777-001, extension 3096, concerning information that will be required to determine the amount of this fee. The developer is responsible to pay the one fee. 2, prior to commencement of construction, A, implementation of approved erosion and sedimentation control plan, if applicable. B, all features to be preserved as indicated on the plan shall be clearly marked in the field so as to ensure preservation during construction. C, no construction, including land preparation, shall commence until all necessary permits required by state, local, and/or federal laws and/or regulations have been secured, and copies submitted to the Planning Board and Building Inspector, except as otherwise specifically allowed by the Board. 3, prior to the issuance of certificate of occupancy, no certificate of occupancy shall be issued for any building structure or portion thereof until A, Planning Board, Town Engineer, and Building Inspector receive written certification from a registered engineer that all site improvements, including utilities and stormwater management facilities, have been completed in accordance with the approved site plan. Such certification shall be in the form of a record drawing as built, showing all site improvements as actually installed, with each sheet bearing the registered engineer's stamp. A record drawing shall not be required for structures less than 2,500 square feet or for minor and administrative modifications to a previously approved site plan. The planning board and building inspector receive written certification from the town engineer that all water and sewer utility improvements have been completed in accordance with the approved site plan. The building inspector verifies that all surface above ground site improvements, parking, landscaping, lighting have been completed in accordance with the approved site plan. 4, maintenance. In order to ensure continued compliance of an approved site plan, the property owner shall be responsible for the continued maintenance, including but not limited to A, yearly replacement of all dead, missing, and damaged landscape material. B, all stormwater management systems in accordance with the operation and maintenance plan submitted and approved as part of the stormwater management plan. C, all paved areas, including driveways and parking areas. 5, hours of construction. Hours of construction shall be restricted to 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Monday through Friday and 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Saturdays. Construction shall not be permitted on Sundays and state holidays. 6, snow storage. Snow storage shall be prohibited on landscaped areas except on lawn, grass areas, or within designated snow storage areas as approved on the site plan. A maximum of 15% of the on-site parking spaces may be utilized for snow storage. The maximum footprint of any single snow storage area shall be 50 feet by 40 feet. Snow storage piles shall not exceed 12 feet in height. Excess snow shall be removed from the site. 7, water conservation. Irrigation shall not utilize the public water supply. In the event irrigation is desired, a private well should be installed. Any irrigation system shall have rain moisture sensors and timers in all heads and zones. This approval is also subject to the attached list of general conditions approved by the planning board on January 27, 2004, amended through February 27, 2018, which are incorporated in the certificate of action by reference. Any approval of this site plan shall lapse within 2 years from the grant thereof if construction has not begun by such date except for good cause. And then we wanted to add that the applicant will work with planning engineering to determine if drainages are necessary around the perimeter. Is that, David, does that accurately address your concerns?
Josh, do you want to? Sorry about that.
Say that again.
No,
Sorry.
this is David. I think we're good. Yeah, it just change it to perimeter drains.
So that planning and engineering will work with the applicant to determine if perimeter drains are necessary.
There you go.
That's right.
Okay, so the decision was read in, so let's do a roll call vote for final approval. Jim?
Yes.
Lou?
Yes.
Tori?
Yes.
And I'm in favor as well. Good luck to the applicant.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
You're
Thank
welcome. The next item is 5 Cherry Hill Drive, request for approval of a minor modification to a previously approved site plan pursuant to Section 4 of the zoning bylaws submitted by SAS Advisor LLC for property in the Industrial 2 zoning district. The applicant proposes a change of use from office to recreation, entertainment, sports facility indoor. Assessors map 37, lot 36, and I believe Attorney McCann is representing the applicant on this.
That's right.
There. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great, thank you so much. My name is Nancy McCann. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, SAS Advisors LLC. Also with me tonight is Chip Selly and Amy Selly, who are the new owners and operators of the Little Gym of Danvers. And this request is a request for approval of a minor modification of a previously approved site plan. And it is triggered solely by the change of use of a small portion of the existing office building to an indoor recreational sports facility for children, that specifically being the Little Gym of Danvers. There are no exterior changes to this site proposed. There are no exterior building changes proposed. There are no exterior site changes proposed. We are here simply because of the provision of Section 4 relative to a change of use, triggering a minor site plan modification. So the property is located at 5 Cherry Hill Drive. It was the subject of a site plan approval back in 1985. The property was constructed, excuse me, it was constructed at that time and has been operated at that time consistent with the original site plan approval. The property is located in the Industrial 2 zoning district, and the building inspector, Rich Maloney, determined that the proposed use falls under the category of a recreation / sports / entertainment use, and therefore required that we obtain a variance for that use to be located at this site in the Industrial 2 zoning district. We did, in fact, appear before the Board of Appeals and received unanimous approval of that variance, and you did have a copy of that in the application package. The use is proposed for the lower level of the existing building. It's an area that has been used previously for office use but is currently vacant. The space does not have windows, and therefore it is not particularly attractive for office use, particularly in a market for office use that's pretty soft right now. But it is an excellent space for a little gym. And so that's why this property has been selected. The current little gym is operating and has operated for a number of years right off of Route 114 in Danvers, and that lease is expiring and the little gym needs to find a new location, and this site is excellent for that use and really meets the needs of the little gym. Again, no exterior alterations at all are being proposed. This is simply a change of use. The little gym, I outlined and I think I provided a pretty good explanation of Little Gym of Danvers if you're not familiar with it. This is an educational physical fitness type of use. It provides a positive learning environment through play and physical activities. It builds confidence. It improves developmental motor skills, and has been very, very successful in Danvers. The children who utilize Little Gym of Danvers range in age from infant to 12 years. The classes are 1-hour classes. There's 10 to 20 students in a class, and the parents come to bring their kids. They park in the parking lot. They walk their children into the Little Gym facility. Typically, they stay. The class is only an hour. Many of the classes, the parents participate in the class, and then at the end of the class, the parent walks the child back to their car, and off they go. This is not a drop-off, pick-up, queuing type of a situation. The parents park and walk their children into the Little Gym facility. As you can see on the site plan, hopefully, and I think the printed site plan, the large plans that were submitted with the application are a little bit easier to read. This location is also excellent because there is a private entrance for Little Gym on the side of the building. There's handicapped accessibility to that access, and it is a private door that goes directly into the Little Gym space. The children don't have to go into the main entrance for the office building, so they go directly into the space through their own private entrance. They also have private bathrooms within the facility. The facility operates 7 days a week, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Again, 1-hour classes spaced throughout the day. The classes are sign up, they're by reservation. Typically, there's 4 to 5 employees on site. And as I've indicated in the application, we do have sufficient parking. And actually, the parking provided on site of 146 parking spaces exceeds the parking requirement for the office use and the little office uses of the building and the Little Gym use as well. We have excess parking spaces over the required parking. I think we had a number of conversations with planning staff, and we did have a Zoom call with Josh after filing of this application to go through some questions that he had. You do have comments from the engineering department. I think you also have comments through staff from the fire department. All of those are certainly acceptable. It's pretty straightforward application. Again, no site plan changes, just simply a change of use. We have requested waivers. You've heard a couple of those applications tonight where we did waivers in this. We have sought waivers associated with technical site plan set requirements that we don't feel are warranted here, given that we are not proposing any site changes, and such a requirement would certainly be onerous on the little gym use. So I think with that, pretty straightforward. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, great. Thanks for the overview. So Jim, why don't we start back with you in this application?
Yeah, John, I really don't have any questions. There's no real, site changes. I'm fine with the use. There appears to be plenty of parking. So I have no further questions.
Okay. Lou, questions?
Yeah, the only question, and again, I think that Attorney McCann covered it, but in terms of parking, you indicated that currently right now there's excess parking for the site.
Yes, there's currently excess parking, but if you do the calculation for the office use and the little gym use, the total requirement under the bylaw would be 129 parking spaces, and we have 146 on site.
Okay. And I do notice that it looks like there are 10 parking spaces that seem to be closest to the entrance. Is there is there a way that they can be dedicated, for the guests of the little gym?
No, there's really not. There's certainly other tenants in this building, and as we discussed with Josh, I think that may happen. Simply because Little Gym starts to operate at 8 o'clock in the morning. So those spaces may well be occupied by the Little Gym folks. And as they circulate, and then office employees come in maybe at 9 o'clock, and they may be parking in other areas, and then the Little Gym spaces turn over. So it may, in fact, actually result in operating that way, but the parking spaces are not reserved on the site.
Okay, got it. Okay, I don't have any further questions. I think it seems to me like a good use for the site. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Tori, questions?
I think this looks great. I have no questions.
Yeah, I don't have any questions. I'm comfortable. So why don't I turn it to the public? Mr. Duggan, if you're still with us, do you have any questions on this application? He may not be still online with us. So let me go back. Unless, Josh, was there any other public comments that you have that needs to be read into the record?
No, John.
Okay. All right. So why don't we go back to the board to close the public hearing? Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Roll call vote. Jim?
All in favor?
Lou?
Yes.
Tori?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm in favor of closing the public hearing. Now, is there a motion to approve the application as presented?
I think, John, excuse me, I think, John, we got to first vote that this is a minor modification.
Okay.
So I would move that we vote that this is a minor modification.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call vote. Jim?
Yes.
Tori?
Yes.
Lou?
Yes.
And I'm in favor as well. So why don't we now go to the approval of the application as presented. And Jim, if you can be prepared to maybe read the decision in when we get to that, is there a motion to approve the application as presented?
I move we approve the application as presented.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so Jim, do you mind reading the decision?
Sure. At a hearing held on May 11th, 2021, the Danvers Planning Board voted to approve the minor modification to a previously approved site plan submitted by SAS Advisors LLC for property at 5 Cherry Hill Drive, Assessors Map 37, Lot 36. Shown on the following plans, site plan, entitled Site Plan in Danvers, Mass. Prepared by Hayes Engineering, Inc., dated March 31st, 2021, consisting of one sheet. This approval is subject to the following conditions. 1, this approval is granted with the following waivers from Section 4 Site Plan Approval of the Danvers zoning bylaw. 1, Section 4.8.2C, Registered Civil Engineer stamp required. Each individual plan sheet shall be signed and stamped by a registered civil engineer. Requested, this one sheet plan is not stamped by a registered civil engineer, but the plan is stamped with a land surveyor stamp. 2, Section 4.8.3 cover title sheet. Required, a cover title sheet. Requested, no submission of a cover title sheet. 3, Section 4.8.5 proposed layout plan. Required, a proposed layout plan. Requested, no submission of a proposed layout plan. 4, Section 4.8.6 landscape plan. Required, a landscape plan. Requested, no submission of a landscape plan. The proposed project does not propose altering the existing landscaping. 5, Section 4.8.7 utility plan. Required, a utility plan. Requested, no submission of a utility plan. The proposed project does not require an increase in demand and/or alteration or relocation of existing utility services. 6, Section 4.8.8 grading and drainage stormwater plan. Required, a grading and drainage stormwater plan. Requested, no submission of a grading and drainage stormwater plan. The proposed project is not proposing an alteration or relocation of existing drainage. 7, Section 4.8.10 building elevations. Required, building elevations. Requested, no submission of building elevations. The project entails a new use for occupying a tenant space in an existing building without any alterations to be performed to the building. 8, Section 4.8.11 lighting photometric plan. Required, a lighting photometric plan. Requested, no submission of a lighting photometric plan. Existing lighting is to remain and no additional lighting is proposed. General conditions as shown. This approval is also subject to the attached list of general conditions approved by the Planning Board on January 27, 2004, amended through February 27, 2018, which are incorporated in the certificate of action by reference. Any approval of the site plan shall last within 2 years from the grant thereof, if construction has not begun by such date except for good cause.
Okay, thanks, Jim. So let's do a roll call vote. Tori?
Yes.
Lou?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
And I'm in favor as well. So good luck to the applicant.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So the last item on the agenda is a discussion on the summer plans for the planning board. Jim, you've got the most history here in terms of, yep. I did that again. So historically, I know that the planning board has taken some time off. Has it been a certain time of the summer vacation that we've not met?
Usually we only meet once in August, typically.
Okay. I mean, that's my memory as well. So, I mean, I think that makes sense. Maybe what we can think about is not having the last meeting in August to give everyone time off before Labor Day, et cetera. Does that make sense?
Well, David, did you want to weigh in or talk about it? Some of the stuff we were talking about internally, or
it's up to the chair.
Yeah, go ahead, Dave. David, give us your feedback. I mean,
sure.
Obviously,
I wasn't trying to David throw it to the. We had just been talking about something internally. I just wasn't sure.
No, it's okay, Josh.
Yep.
So I think I guess what I was looking for the board, we just picked up staffing the zoning board, so I was trying to take a cue from how they operate to schedule our workload, but also from past practice. I know when I started, Bill Prentice the first year said, "Are we taking a summer break?" And at that time, the caseload was very high, and I we sort of said no. And then last year COVID happened, and we also, no one was going anywhere, so it was no again. But to Jim's point, I think I was told that at least one meeting in August was off. Given the caseload we have, it's hard to predict when we'll have to meet. But we were sort of trying to target the last meeting in July, last meeting in August, only if that's possible, of course. But wanted to just discuss with the board.
I mean, I personally, the board can chime in. I mean, if you can accommodate that and it's not affecting the operations, David, I support that personally. I think you guys have a sense of what you can control, right? Based on what comes in.
Yeah, there's certain things we can work on, some things you just can't. So we'll see what happens, I guess. But
Lou, Tori, you guys have any comments around that? I mean, do you have vacation plans that we just need to be aware so we have a quorum? I mean, this personally won't affect my plans for the summer, but certainly don't mind taking some time off.
Yep. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have any. My wife and I don't have any plans, so I'll be around. So that is so in terms of last meeting in July, last in August, that seems to work fine.
So to be clear, just so everyone knows, that's July 27th and August 24th, just in case you need to check dates.
Okay.
I unfortunately have no vacation plans either. Although this seems like a good time to make the board aware that I have an unavoidable work conflict on May 25th.
Okay.
Our next meeting. Yep.
Okay.
So maybe David and I, we could potentially, or in pencil, kind of amend or modify our master calendar, and if we could, obviously applications might change things, but
yeah, I think we're going to try. We're going to try to get ahead of it. That's why we wanted to talk tonight. And as things come in, we can work with the applicants. But just wanted to feel the board out before we start either piling on or taking off.
Yeah.
It's from our standpoint, as long as we kind of know a little bit ahead of time, we can kind of make things work for everyone. Obviously, there's some things with statutory kind of time stuff, like A&Rs, but if we'd like to maybe make it work if possible.
Yeah.
Okay, so what does the backlog look like? What do you guys see the month of, say, the next several meetings?
Sure. So sorry, didn't mean to, David.
Go ahead,
so
Josh.
just for the upcoming meeting on the 25th, we had one new item, 25 Conant Street, just a conversion from a 3-family to a 4-family. And then I was speaking to Attorney McCann about another application that we'll likely receive in the next couple of days, and then that wouldn't be on until probably the first or second meeting in June. So there are several, as David would know, we have a master board in our office. There are 4 to 5 or 6 kind of circling items, and then could be applied or dropped off at any day. If they come in all on the same day, it obviously makes things interesting. Not to get too ahead of ourselves also, but at our next meeting, we will likely have an informal kind of presentation about the Hot Watt site. David, if I'm correct, is
that's what the plan is? Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll have one project to discuss, one kind of official project to discuss next week, and then there will be an informal presentation from the development team on an early kind of rendition of the Hot Watt site. So that will be discussed at the next meeting in a couple weeks.
Okay. David, could you just quickly comment? There was something in the paper that and I got some questions I wasn't totally aware of what's being planned downtown at the corner of Maple and Conant Street.
Yep.
The temporary use of a parking area. Can you just maybe get into that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. I think it's 13 spaces outside of the current CVS location. was brought up as part of the zoning, the downtown zoning, I think, in 2017. It's been noted a couple times by town meeting members and other folks that it'd be great to have some sort of civic space there. It's actually just part of the right-of-way. So it looks like it's some sort of separate private parking lot, but the right-of-way there is 110 feet wide. So we were looking to use those spaces, the head-in spaces, just the ones off, they look like they're off-street, to have a temporary pop-up park. We're looking to try and advocate for outdoor dining. I think we wanted to go a little bigger. The project's morphed several times since its initial conception, but long story short, we got about $60,000 in, I'll say, free money from MassDOT to rig this whole thing up, get it running, and hopefully make a go of it. I know we're late into COVID, and it would have been great to get this earlier on during that during the pandemic, but hopefully we can have a successful outdoor summer dining season. And as things open up more, we want to use it more for civic and programming space as well. So the rec department has identified that they'd like to have, singer-songwriters or bands out there, maybe some art installations, and things like that.
Okay, it's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, it's been successful in, Newburyport, and I think actually, John, you mentioned at one point the North End was great last fall.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Good. So if that all happens, when do you think it kicks off?
3 weeks ago? No, we were targeting, I think, June 1st now. It's been, as you know, because of COVID, logistically very difficult getting supplies.
Okay, good.
So we're trying.
Thanks for that update. Any other matters for the board that any member wants to bring up? If not, I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate all the good work from the staff. And see you in a couple weeks.
Thanks,
Have a
everyone.
great night. Have a great night, everyone.
Good night.
Okay, bye.